How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much for watching because it's always appreciated. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. Now, I don't know about y'all, but ever since I was a little kid, I've been a 007 fan my whole life. Back in the day, every November, I would look forward to Thanksgiving, not just because I love turkey, but because every year back in the day on TBS cable, they used to have this James Bond movie marathon where they would show all the movies every year. And so even today in my house in November, Bond is kind of a tradition in my house where I try to fit in as many 007 movies in the month of November as I can. Because of my love for these movies, and since I do have this little channel after all, naturally, I am going to talk about 007 from time to time. The official movies, that is, I'm excluding 1967's Casino Royale with Peter Sellers because, let's face it, it's not a real Bond movie, it's a spoof. And I'm also excluding 1983's Never Say Never Again because Thunderball was just fine the way it was, and we didn't need a remake of that. And so, yeah, only the official titles. I've already talked about the first movie, Dr. No, all the way through the eighth movie, Live and Let Die. So now we are on number 9 from 1974. I am talking about The Man with the Golden Gun. Directed by Guy Hamilton, who directed 1964's Goldfinger as well as 1971's Diamonds Are Forever and 1973's Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun makes his fourth and final entry in the 007 series. This is based on the final and 13th Ian Fleming James Bond novel released in 1965, about 8 months after the death of Ian Fleming in 1964. This is also the return of Roger Moore in his sophomore outing as James Bond. Returning with Sir Roger Moore, you also have some familiars, of course, like Bernard Lee as our M, as our Miss Moneypenny, Lois Maxwell, as our beloved quartermaster Q, Desmond Llewellyn. But once again, you have a new villain and a new henchman, new Bond girls. As our main villain, you have the great Christopher Lee. I'm sure a lot of you movie fans out there are familiar with Christopher Lee's work, whether it's his role in the Star Wars prequels as Count Dooku, or his role as Dracula in the Hammer horror series of the 50s and 60s, or as Saruman in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He even worked in a couple of Tim Burton movies like Sleepy Hollow and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But I'm sure many of you aren't aware that this guy was also once one of the great Bond villains of all time as the character of Francisco Scaramanga. Usually with these movies, the main villain comes with his own henchman. In this case, we have the character of Knick Knack, played by TV star of Fantasy Island fame, the plane, Hervé Villechaize, a little person. Watching this character in this movie, I think it's safe to presume that this character was the basis and inspiration for the character of Mini-Me in the Austin Powers movies. And like those movies, this character is also used for comedic effect, so as a henchman, not very threatening, but a better servant and butler, since he's kind of a butler and confidant to the main villain. But yeah, still kind of a fun character. Since we're talking Bond, of course, I gotta mention the babes, the Bond girls, because they are just as much a staple of this series as the cool cars, the gadgets, the vodka martinis, the bad guys with the physical deformity. In this case, you have Maud Adams, two-time Bond girl Maud Adams, who also appeared with Roger Moore in 1983's Octopussy. In this movie, she plays the character of, I believe, Andrea Anders. You also have the character of Mary Goodnight, very pretty girl, looks great in a bikini, and Britt Eklund was a fine actress, but the way the character is written, she's not very useful to Bond, and so she ends up just coming off as annoying, which is unfortunate because I do like Britt Eklund as an actress. The Maud Adams character, Andrea Anders, in the movie, she is the main squeeze to our main villain, and so she's a bit more key to the plot, which involves something called the Solex Agitator. I guess back in 73 there was some kind of energy crisis, which this MacGuffin plays into. In all honesty, I have seen this movie so many times, countless times, and every time I watch it, I still don't know what the hell is the deal with this Solex Agitator. I know it has something to do with, again, like I just said, the energy crisis and all that. But, it's all gobbledygook. At the beginning of the movie, James Bond learns that he may be the next target of a professional marksman and assassin who, due to his weapon of choice, is known as the Man with the Golden Gun, who also has a little private island where he likes to invite visitors to come over to have a little contest. Basically, it's kind of a nod to the Most Dangerous Game, where it's kind of a man hunting man scenario. And they kind of build up this situation where Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun, is kind of a Bond equivalent because he's damn good with a gun. And so it's kind of like Bond meeting his match for the first time. Bond has to go through a funhouse with all kinds of crazy mirrors, very much like Enter the Dragon, which came out a year before, so definitely some influence from there. For a Bond movie of the early to mid 1970s, this being the ninth movie, by now things were kind of starting to feel a bit stale and the action a bit underwhelming. There have been previous movies before this that came out in the 60s that I think had better action. There's some decent action in there, but some of it is undercut. I'll give you an example. There is a great stunt with a car in a car chase where this car has to do this jump and it does kind of a barrel roll, does a whole, 360, but they add this slide whistle sound effect during the jump that really messes up the scene. Something else that car chase scene could have done without, in fact, this movie could have done without, is the inclusion of the character of Sheriff J.W. Pepper, which was a welcome addition to Live and Let Die, the previous film, but in this film is very out of place. This is a sheriff from Louisiana who just happens to be vacationing in Thailand at the same time that James Bond is on a mission. So, yeah, what do you know? Also, very quickly, I gotta mention if you're a fan of 2004's Kung Fu Hustle, look out for the landlady in that movie, Yen Kui, who has a small part in this movie in the scene where Bond is escaping from the karate school. There are two girls that assist Bond in kicking some ass side by side. One of them, the one on the right, I believe, that's Yen Kui. Just a little fun fact for all you Kung Fu Hustle fans out there. Thought you get a kick out of that. But oh yeah, also look out for a scene where Bond is in a fight scene where he gets interrupted trying to get this charm out of the belly dancer's belly button when they're in a very small room, and during the fight scene in the mirror in the background you can see a crew member in the mirror for a moment. You see like the camera equipment and stuff. It's for a brief moment, but it is pretty noticeable. And there was another song. Alice Cooper did a song for this movie that did not get used, which you can find on YouTube because it is badass and would have made a great Bond song, way better than the one that they chose. Although this is a flawed movie, you do have a very good performance from Sir Roger Moore. You have a very good performance from the great Christopher Lee, who is a great Bond villain. And so, yeah, there is some entertainment value to be had, and there is a bit of fun to be had as well. So, it's not the best, but not the worst. The Man with the Golden Gun, 2.5 stars. Thank you all very much for watching another classic movie review. I very much appreciate it. And if you're into this kind of thing, if you're new to the channel, and if you like what you see, subscribe. Please don't forget to comment, share, like. It always helps. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for your support and your views. Always appreciate it. Please don't forget to comment, share, like. It always helps out. I'll see you on the next classic movie review. Everybody take care of each other. Till next time, peace out. God bless.